Hello, 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 hello. How are you guys today? All of those that are out there in the Facebook land. I've turned down my music there as usual. I'm always jamming before I come on live here. Sort of get into the mode of getting that high energy flowing and everything. But I hope all of you have had a wonderful past week since we talked, or since I talked, and since you may have viewed the message from Compass X. My name is Robbe Hardnette. I'm coming to you live from Vancouver, BC on behalf of CX Talk. CX Talks come to you every Tuesday and Friday at 1 p.m. And then of course we put the video up on YouTube at Compass X L.S.G. So we would appreciate it if you go to the Compass X L.S.G. and check that out. For those of you who may have missed the live talk, you can always go there and also subscribe so that you know every time that we upload a video or every time we do something that would perhaps help you in some form, or something that would be shared to you. Compass X is an online life skill platform. The purpose is to provide tools to help support you in navigating life. It is a comprising of different subjects, courses, subject matters that you could utilize in some form or another, or in some way suggest to a friend or give to a friend. Because in these challenging times of 2020, moving into 2021, it is nice to know that we have some form of support, some form of help that we can draw from. It's always good that we have our friends and family, but if for some reason they're not quite getting it, there's other forms there, and that's the purpose of us providing the CX Talk on every Tuesday and Friday, and also having the online platform of compassx.org. You can go there. We have many courses there for free. We are constantly uploading information. I have several books there that you can access. So in any case, that's our purpose for coming, my purpose for coming every Tuesday and Friday. Over a period of time, the Tuesday and Friday may begin to cease a little bit just because of the practice. My practice is growing quite a bit there, and so it may not be live, but what I will still try and do is to have the series here every Tuesday and Friday at 1 o'clock. So either way, I will still do my very best to appear, whether it's live or whether it's a pre-recorded video. And again, I thank you so much. We've had some wonderful comments. We've had comments, suggestions on the show. Many of them we have, or I have. I keep saying we. I say we because there's a number of other people that appear on the site. But in any case, I take that information and I utilize that information, and I enjoy presenting in the manner of topics that you like, or topics that make us feel uncomfortable, such as the one that we're doing right now. The one that we're doing right now is called Diversity Engagement in 2021. That has always been what I call a soft shoe dance in the Americas, and actually not only in the Americas but around the world. And so we felt that we would take that on for 2021 to discuss the topics of the diversity in 2020, in diversity in 2021. It's very important to approach the diversity in 2021, because the more that we engage diversity in 2021, the more that we will be open and ready to be a part of the social change that's taking place within our environment. Let me just check my camera. Look like it's actually doing okay. So anyway, I thought it was moving on me, but it wasn't. It was me moving on the camera. But that is the reason why I wanted to start off the new year with diversity engagement in 2021. At the first of the month, I started off with talking about implicit biases. And I discussed that, and I discussed the differences of what I felt, and also backed up by social science as well. It's always good to give social science or science within the matter of things, because otherwise people will think you're just coming up with a biased opinion based on your race. And so I certainly did not want to do a presentation that certainly if it made you feel uncomfortable, in some ways that's a good thing. But in another, I didn't want you to think that it's coming from my opinion and my opinion alone. So a lot of what I've been discussing and have been discussing since the 1st of January has been from a social science perspective. And so I hope that you enjoy. I hope that you can be able to view it from a perspective that it is a broad, open perspective. And the purpose is to have us as a society of the world, humanitarians, to approach in a loving, kind way of being more open and challenge ourselves to embrace the changing face of what's taking place in the world of the change of diversity. In the first series, I'll just do a review. In the first series, I went over the fact of the difference between stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination. And yes, those are totally 3 different factors. Stereotypes can either be positive or negative. I'll just go through them real quick just as a review. It is stereotypes is having a preconceived idea of a group or an individual. Prejudice is either a negative or adverse feeling of an individual or a group. It's different. It's a stereotype is just like, all women are like this, all blacks are like this, all Chinese are like this, all groups are like this. That's a stereotype. A prejudice is having a negative, adverse attitude based on that stereotype. Discrimination is an action taken, and that's basically based on us, how we've grown from being in an in-group or an out-group. So I'm going to run through these real fast because these are subject matters that you can go back over yourself and look at. We are facing an ever-changing world of diversity. The world in 1960, as an example, was extremely less diverse in most of the different countries. It was mostly comprised of people, of the originators of that origin, wherever you were at. And but now that's changing, especially in the North Americas. It was less diverse. And so what's taking place now is that there's an ever-changing influx of diversity into our community. And social science, and there has been numerous amount of studies that will support that that's a good thing. But there are challenges that comes with that too, and I'll speak about some of those and let you be the deciding factor of where you fit in that spectrum, and then maybe you can utilize various tools in your life to help you expand your broad perspective. And again, I will say as a disclaimer, I know that this is a difficult subject, but it need not be a difficult subject, because the matter will be around until the end of time, and it will increase until the end of time. So the way that we can gird ourselves up to be able to embrace it in such a way that we can be a advocate can be a advocate of it is to embrace it and first take a look at ourselves, where we stand within that spectrum, and then utilize the tools to grow us from that. Okay, so studies show that in the year of 2050 to 2060, the diversity spectrum will dramatically swing, and there will be more of what is perceived as minority as being the majority, and that's a multiflux of group. And so in other words, what I'm saying is there will not necessarily be a dominant group. And these are studies that are done by Summers in 2006 as a constant study, McLeod and Lobel and Cox in 2014 did a study. All of these groups have been doing a study and watching the changing fabric of not only the North Americas, but the world. And so there's going to be a great change. And with that, there's going to be some challenges. Let me talk about the negative, let me just go and talk about the challenges. The challenges is that there's a sort of, when you look at stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination, there's always a formulation of certain ideas, and those create prejudice toward those groups. And what science has shown is that when you bring a multiple of groups together, it actually improves the result in the ultimate factor. Let me say that again. Science shows that when you bring in a multiple group of people, that whatever you are working on, that the result ends up being of a greater value. Reason being is there's the obvious. There's a broader perspective. There's an eye from every angle of the community that it will serve. And that's a necessary part of having us as a race, as a group, to expand ourselves. So that's a science that was showed there. Let's talk about some of the challenges that take place with it. There's fear, there's anger when you bring in the multiple of groups. There's anxiety. There's certainly a lower endorsement of whichever group that is being brought into. And then sometimes people feel that it is a threat to society. But science actually shows that the opposite takes place. Science shows that it expands an individual's perspective not only on the group, but on themselves. Because what has taken place, it allows them to free them from some of the habits, and then we would call this habits, that has been formulated by not being associated with what is called the outgroup. And I should go back and say that science has also shown that people have a perspective of two different dimensions. In-group, those which you are comfortable with, those which you know, those which you've grown up with, and out-groups, those that you see from the outside, and those that people have given you preconceived stereotypes that have allowed us to formulate these preconceived ideas. And so with that, we see them as the out-group. There's the in-group, there's the out-group. In-group can be described in several ways. In-group can be described as if you, like me, moved to Canada, I see myself as being here alone. And if I meet someone from America, or if I meet someone of my own color, or if I meet someone that I can relate to because they may have went to school with me, I would consider them an in-group. So that's a positive way of describing it. In-group and out-group is not necessarily all negative. I just given you a positive. But what it does, it's in groups allows us to be comfortable. Out groups allows us to look at them as us and them. And so we have to address how we deal with that, with the us and them factor. And so I'm going to talk about some of those things. That is what science has shown is the challenges that have come up from that. What are some of the positive that comes from that? Let's talk about the positive. I first gave you what is perceived as a negative. Some of the positive, which I touched on, is an expansion of oneself. 2, the ability to see things in a different perspective that we did not see. Because if I hang out with a person who's from Asia and they approach fashion and color in a different way than I would, or music in a different way, what that can do, especially with me, many of you know that I've had a musical background, is that then what it would do is expand my ability to create my music in such a different way that may have an Asian influence. Whereas if I was narrowly within this scope of things, I would only see one aspect of that. And so that's from a music standpoint. From a creative standpoint, it's the same thing. So that's a positive effect of what social science have talked about as being a plus of being within the diversity. And so I won't get deeply into it because I'm creating a series for it right now that will go on the site. And my purpose is to walk through that particular part of the series with you so that when it comes out in a more in-depth standpoint, you would have already heard it from me, or you would have already explored it from yourself. And also, more importantly, what's taking place in our world today demands, I'll say that again, what's taking place in our world today demands the need and the urgency that we address the diversity in 2021. It's always been necessary to address it, but I think even more so because this is the underbelly of a seed that has plagued us for many, many years. And so how do we find our way through these minefields? That is for us to first address it. There's a AIT test. I talked about this in the first series. If you want to take a personal view within your own home and just look at how you may feel that you see the diversity conversation, you can take the AIT test. You can Google it. It is a diversity test. Whatever your results will be, don't beat yourself up about it. If you find that from taking the test it puts you on the extreme of being racist, or it puts you on the factor that you may have been less or more than you thought you were with the diversity conversation. So I encourage you to take that because that's a personal. You don't have to listen to anybody talk to you about the diversity scope, the diversity conversation. You can just take a test and look at where you lie. And I'm talking about every color, because the stereotypes, the prejudice, the discrimination is not only from a black to white, but it can be from a white to black, or a Hispanic to this, or a Asian to this. It's all over the place how the division is created in order to keep people from rising to their highest level of consciousness about being all one. So take that test, see how you come up in that test, and from that start working back from that test on how you progress yourself in reaching that level that you want to reach on the diversity scope. Okay, let me move on forward. There is a conversation that was first thought in the 1950s that was a diversity ideology. And this gentleman felt that that diversity can be placed in two different factors. One is color blindness, and the other, well, let me talk about color blindness. Some people say, well, I'm colorblind. I don't see colors. Well, okay. I won't challenge that. I won't push back on that. But the concept of color blindness is that it downplays groups. Okay, this is from science. This is not me. Okay, so do not beat the how does the saying go? Do not beat the speaker. He's not the one delivering. I'm just the message barrier. So there we go. So don't beat the message barrier. I'm just delivering the information for the purpose of allowing us to review ourselves and expand ourselves, and hopefully become more unison in our approach of loving each other. Okay, so the color blindness, it downplays groups, and it also focuses on similarities. Okay, that's what the study showed. And then there is another perspective. Well, they're broken into two perspectives: color blindness and multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is different than color blindness. Multiculturalism embraces the uniqueness of each culture and looks at it like look at it like a pot of soup where everything is thrown in there, and without having all of those elements that have been thrown into that pot of soup, you would not come up with the end result of a very interesting taste of food that really, in many ways, end up being enjoyed by everyone, because there's a bit of pepper, salt, seasoning, gumbo, potatoes, onions, all of those things are, and I'm sort of throwing it out there so that you can kind of see the use of the multiculturalism. That's how I view it. Whereas if you'd say color blindness, well, I'd say I don't see any color, and so what happens is the end result is that we should all see ourselves as Canadians first and not embrace our culture. We can leave behind our culture. And so what science has also shown is that the difference between the color blindness and the multiculturalism is that it creates an appreciation for the melting pot. And it allows people to be celebrated and enjoyed when you go and view that culture, celebrating their culture. You don't turn around and say, oh, well, we should show our culture. No, it's a celebration of the total culture. Okay, it's a celebration of the individual multiculturalism that we want to be a part of. It's a celebration of those cultures. It is not a separation of those colors. So science has shown that color blindness and multiculturalism are two different factors. Now they both have, they both are for the positive. Let me say that. I'm not saying that color blindness is negative. All I'm really saying that based on social science and social psychology of studying multiculturalism versus color blindness has consistently separated, like a slice of a knife in a cake, that is wanting everyone to be unison under one flag. Okay, like we are all Canadians, and no matter where you come from, or we are all American, or no matter where you come from, that's your ultimate. Forget about the multicultural of each individual. Okay, So that's a part of what the social construct between the difference of multicultural and colorblindness. Multiculturalism highlights the group. It focuses on the difference of the group. It celebrates the group. They both share in trying to get an end result. But typically, and again, this is another study, and when I finish comprising the total course, as again, I've said to you, what I'm actually doing, and this is the beauty of me coming on every Tuesday and every Friday, is you get to walk through with me the actual research that I am doing before I comprise the class, before I comprise the course. And so you're part of it with me. And when you have feedback, I really want to hear what that feedback is, because I can address it in that manner. So, okay, so let me move forward, because I have my clock working, so I want to make sure that I get through my 30 minutes time. And I do appreciate some of you who have said that, oh man, it was only 30 minutes, I was getting into it. Well, again, the idea of me coming every Tuesday and every Friday at 1 o'clock is purely to reach the outline versions of conversation so that we can interact and you can get a sense of knowing what Compass X is about. Okay, so let me move right through. Typically, colorblindness is the majority group. The majority group, hear this, the majority group generally endorses colorblindness more so. Because colorblindness, through science, not me, I'm saying this, allows people to feel safe in saying they are not a racist. Okay? Because I don't see any difference. Okay? But science has showed that in a sense that's a cop-out. And minorities endorses more multiculturalism. Let me say that again. Science shows that in the difference between colorblindness and multiculturalism, that the majority group who holds the status quo typically want to be warm and fuzzy about color blindness because it allows them to feel comfortable in the space that they can say that they're not racist. That's science, okay? Again, not me. It's well intended, but the study does not, the research in the study does not hold up that's good. The pitfalls of colorblind. Let me talk about the pitfalls. You can avoid mentioning race, which makes people feel uncomfortable when they say that. You can avoid discussing about the biases that you may have, or you can avoid when you see multicultural taking place. You can avoid the conversation of saying, you know, or you can be encouraged by saying, I don't see colorblindness, so I don't see why they should be celebrating this, because we are all this. We are all Americans. We are all Canadians. We are all Germans. So why do they want to celebrate that part of their culture individually? That's one of the pitfalls of it, okay? Science has showed also, this is done by Wolsko, that's W-O-L-S-K-O in 2000, that color blindness supports more implicit and implicit biases, okay? Mean bias to something, okay? So just think about that for a minute. So I've gone through enough of that. What I want to do, because of my time, let's see what my time is. Yeah, time is moving quickly. Is that how do we reduce these factors? Let me get straight into the core of it. I've given you the problem, so give me the solution, Robbe. Give me, and I will say as a disclaimer that it is not going to be a quick fix. It is a long haul. It is a continuous of working this through. Here it is. Education, which is awareness of the issue, concerns about what it is, having a concern about it, looking at the consequences of being in that state. We can engage more. If you are having trouble with something, engage with it. Face whatever it is that, and I know that's a very scary subject, because some people go, well, I don't want to face it because I really don't like this group. Well, maybe it is not the group. Maybe it is the biases that you have, that you feel that you have grown to feel comfortable with, that you must now address. Okay, so I support you in going into what I call a contact theory, meaning if you contact the things that you don't like, or you engage with the things that you don't like, that it ultimately will have an improvement on developing you to be a much broader, a more accepting, a more caring, and a more loving individual. So let me just run over some things that are coming up, because I'm excited about some things that are coming up within the year. On the 24th, we have Dr. Davis and Dr. Piddle. Dr. Piddle will be discussing diabetes, what diabetes is, how it affects everyone. Diabetes used to be something like thought of to be an old disease, but it is not. I want to clarify that. It is something that almost anyone could have, and you need to address if you are in the scope of having that, or at the beginning of having it, or if you're in the middle or end of it. You need to address it in such a way of urgency, and there are factors or different things that can be done to help you get through it. So Dr. Piddle will be talking about that. Dr. Davis will be here as well, talking about how we harbor these types of stresses that are coming outside, and how they go within the body and they go from being dis-ease to disease, and how you can address that and actually be a participant in safeguarding yourself from these things. I also want to, as a close, congratulate Dr. Davis for her NASFA award of 2021. She just achieved a music award for the Native American Style Flute Award. So I really am proud of her. I've been knowing her for a while. Actually, I didn't even know she played the flute when I first was introduced to her. And so to find that she was such an artist in that, I knew she was an artist, but I didn't know she was an artist from a musical standpoint. So for her to have achieved several different awards. Actually, if you want to see all of the different awards she's gotten, you can go on to compassx.org and click first, sign yourself up to be within our emails and so forth. And then you can see some of the accolades that she's done. Very, very accredited individual. So thank you so much. If you want to get in touch with me, you can contact me at compassxlsg@gmail. That's how you can do. You can reach me on Facebook as my name, Robbe Hardnette. And if you have any messages that you want to send, you can send it there. If there's things that we talked about that you like or don't like, truly, I want to hear from you in every aspect, because one of the things that I love is I'm getting tons of feedback from you, and I appreciate it very much. So keep them coming. go on the Compass X L.S.G on YouTube. You can catch all of the talks on YouTube and also on Facebook. And subscribe to all of that. You go on Compass X, hit the button, be part of the group, be part of the group that is growing, and the desire to self-enlighten ourselves as well as expand the community that we live in, because it's very important. So thank you so much. And as always, I wish you love, peace, and follow the way. I'm out of here. Robbe Hardnette, coming to you as the host of CX Talks. Thank you.